القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر.
In this video, we'll be going through the طرف اللسان. The طرف اللسان refers to the tip of the tongue. Now, there are many letters which come from the طرف اللسان, and that's why it's been divided into three parts. Now, one thing before we continue on the طرف اللسان is very important that we only use the very tip of the tongue. Right at the point of the tongue, this is where we're using it. We are not going to use the full front rounded area, we are only going to use the very tip of the tongue. Only the front pointed part of the tongue. This is the area that we're going to be using to pronounce all of these letters in طرف اللسان. So as we go along, the طرف اللسان, the first letter, which is noon. Now, the reason we're going from inside out, if you notice. So we start with the hamza ha, which is right at the bottom of the throat, then we went to the middle of the throat, then we went to the top of the throat, then we went to the back of the mouth, and then we went to the middle. So, and then the sides of it. So we're working our way out. So the next letter in order, meaning where it comes, is the noon, which we use the tip of the tongue to pronounce the hard palate of the area, the front part of your palate. So you've got the two areas in the top of your mouth. One is the gum and one is the palate. So the palate is the softer part and the gum is the harder part, but the gum is the root from the inside. So we're using the soft part of the palate, which is sort of in the middle. It's not in the middle of the palate, it's further forward, but we're using the tip of the tongue to pronounce this. And just like N, just to give you an example, it's like N, okay? So, but we use the tip of the tongue and we say N. So because it's like N, it's very easy and we can move on to the next letter. So a little bit further than that, meaning outside, going towards the front part of your mouth, is the Ra. Ra. The Ra is pronounced by the tip of the tongue touching the front area of the palate, which is very similar to English. I put same as English over here, but it's not actually same as English, it's similar to English. We say Ra. If you notice, when you say a Ra, it's a heavy sound. Now let's just go straight onto the tips, because then we can go through how it differs. So the noon can be pronounced unclearly if the tip of the tongue is not used to touch the palate. If too much of the tongue is used, the noon can end up sounding like the lam. And the reason for that is because if you use the full front part of the tongue, then it turns into a lam. Because you can hear some noon there, but you can hear a lot of lam as well, because using the full front part. So that's why it's very important you only use the tip of the tongue. Now, a common mistake with English speakers, especially British English speakers, and I am a culprit here, is that they pronounce the Ra without touching the palate. So in British English, when we say any letter Ra which is not being pronounced as the first letter, we don't touch it at all. So instead of saying better, like American English, better, we say better, better. So there's nothing touching anything. So that's why it's very, very important, especially for British English speakers, to ensure that when they are pronouncing the Ra, they pronounce it as if it's the first letter of Ra, first letter of rabbit, rabbit. You're touching it, okay? And care must be taken to ensure that the tongue actually collides with the palate when pronouncing the Ra. You must touch the palate. If you're a British English speaker or any other English dialect which doesn't pronounce the Ra in a way that you're touching the palate completely, Americans don't have this problem. Americans can read the Ra properly. So it's all others that can have some sort of problem with this. So ensure that you're touching the palate properly with the tip of the tongue to pronounce the Ra. So in part 2 of tip of the tongue, now we come a little bit further forward. We come a little bit further forward now because the noon is there, the Ra is there. Now we come right to the root of the gums. The root gum of the front upper incisors. So the upper incisors are your front two teeth. So your front two teeth, the ones that you use to bite an apple or something, are the upper incisors. And this is where you pronounce the da and the da and the ta from. So ta is by the tip of the tongue being right at the root of these two upper incisors. So right at the root, this is where you place your tongue. Now in T, you do not, in T in English, you do not pronounce this by touching the tip of the teeth. So tip of the tongue at the gums of the upper incisors, use the palate area, and that's T is different to ta. Ta is right at the gums at the upper incisors, the tip, the root. That's why ta is different. And dal is different to D. D, again, you're using a different part, not the tip of your tongue, and also you're not using the root of the upper incisors. You're using an area of the palate and a wider part of the tongue to pronounce D. But with dal, it's the tip of the tongue and it's at the root of the upper incisors. So that's where the hard gum is, and they say ta and dal, ta and dal. So these two that's how you pronounce these two letters. The next one of Tarful Lisan, within the same category, ta, dal and ta, they come under the same category because you touch the root of the gums, is the ta. And the ta, again, you use the tip of the tongue, but it sticks to the gum before you move off. And you raise the tongue, the whole tongue, to ensure the heavy sound. So with this ta, you use the same area of the ta and the dal, but you raise the whole tongue, ta, ta, and it has this heavy sound that comes with it. So ta, dal, and ta are three of the letters which come from by touching the tip of the tongue to the root of the upper incisors. And that's how you pronounce these three letters. So the tips are, with all of these letters, we must ensure that we are using the tip of the tongue and not the rounded area at the front. When pronouncing the ta and the dal, we have to ensure that the sound is light. The hard gum should be used, the gum of the upper incisors, and not the soft part meaning the palate. If the soft part is used, then these letters will become T and D of English, but that's not correct. So ta and dal has to be there. So the ta is the heaviest letter of the Arabic language, so we must raise the entire tongue to pronounce this letter to give it its dues. When we say ta, we know that we're using the tip of the tongue at the upper incisor gum root area and raise the whole tongue, and that ensures a very heavy sound. You must also feel the tongue stick to the gum for a split second when pronouncing this letter, which contributes to its strength and also contributes to its differentiation between the ta and the dal. So say ta, ta, ta. Again, there's lots of practice which is needed. And we will end this video here before we go on to part 3 of the tip of the tongue.
Salam Alykum. Be sure to download your free implementation workbook. We go through it step by step. All the videos correspond with it. We have laid it out very strategically so you can master Quranic Tajweed and Quranic Mastery and implement it while you go along. Okay, so be sure to download this and it will help you on your journey. It's free to download. The link should be in the description. Assalamu alaikum. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please like this video so we know you enjoy it, as we can make more. Please write a comment and tell us what you thought about the lesson, and don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe now. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.